The warning light blinked red on the sensor console. Officer stared at it for a long moment, his 4 eyes narrowing in confusion. He tapped the screen twice, then 3 times more. The light kept blinking. The signal remained. "This cannot be correct," he muttered to himself. The command center sat at the heart of Throne Station, a massive space platform that floated above their capital world. Thousands of officers worked here every day, watching the stars and protecting their mighty empire. Nothing had ever threatened this place. Nothing could. The defense grids around the capital were the strongest in the galaxy. 500 warships patrolled the nearby space. Millions of automated weapons waited in silence, ready to destroy any enemy. And yet the warning light kept blinking. Pressed a button on his console. "Senior officer, please come to Station 7. There is something strange here." Admiral walked across the command center with slow, heavy steps. He was old his gray skin showing the marks of many years. He had served the Empire for 6 decades. He had seen wars and victories. He had watched enemy fleets burn in the darkness of space. Nothing surprised him anymore. "What is it?" he asked, his voice tired. "Another asteroid, a lost merchant ship." "I do not know, sir," pointed at his screen. The sensors detected something near the 4th moon. It appeared suddenly, without warning. One moment there was nothing. The next moment this signal. Looked at the screen. A small dot blinked in the darkness, very close to their position. Too close. "A sensor error," he said. "Run a diagnostic check." "I already did, sir, 3 times. The sensors are working perfectly." "Then it is space debris, garbage from an old battle." "The signature does not match debris, Admiral. It matches a ship, a warship." Felt something cold move through his body. He leaned closer to the screen. "That is impossible. No ship can approach the capital undetected. Our defense grid covers every direction. Our patrol ships watch every corner of space. Nothing gets through." "I know, sir, but the signal is real, and it is not moving away. It is staying in place near the 4th moon." "How large?" "Medium size. The sensors say it is about 300 meters long." "Origin?" Hesitated. His fingers moved across the console, pulling up more data. When he saw the results, his skin turned pale. "Human, sir. The ship is human." The word hung in the air like poison. Human. Knew the species, of course. Everyone in the galaxy knew about humans. They were a young race from a small planet called Earth. They had only discovered space travel 200 years ago. In galactic terms, they were bobbies, children who had just learned to walk among the stars. The Empire had dealt with them before. 50 years ago, a fleet had visited human space. They had taken samples of human technology and found it primitive. They had taken samples of human biology and found it ordinary. They had also taken samples of human population, 3,000 colonists from a small settlement, to study and use as workers. The humans had protested, but what could they do? Their tiny ships were no match for power. Their weapons were like toys. The Empire had ignored their complaints and gone home. Since then, humans had stayed quiet. They built their colonies. They traded with nearby species. They never caused trouble. The Empire had forgotten about them, just as one forgets about an insect after brushing it away. But now, somehow, a human ship sat near the capital, a warship. "Alert the patrol fleet," ordered. "Send 10 ships to investigate, and inform High Commander. He will want to know about this." The command center became busy with activity. Officers ran to their stations. Messages flew across communication channels. Within minutes, 10 warships changed course and headed toward the 4th moon. Watched the main screen as the patrol ships approached the unknown signal. His heart beat faster than usual. Something felt wrong about this situation. Very wrong. Human ships could not travel this far into space without being detected. Their technology was too weak. Their stealth systems were too simple. It made no sense. Unless the ship was not alone. Unless it was a trap. "Scan the entire system," commanded. Look for other ships, hidden forces, anything unusual. Scanning now, Admiral. A young officer named Kell worked at the main sensor station. His hands moved quickly across the controls. I detect nothing else. No other ships, no hidden fleets, only the single human vessel. That makes no sense, said. Why would one small ship come here alone? What could it possibly hope to achieve? High Commander arrived at the command center. He was younger than stronger and much more confident. His uniform carried many medals and symbols of honor. He had never lost a battle in his entire career. What is this emergency? Demanded. I was in a meeting with the Emperor's advisors. A human warship, Commander. It appeared near the fourth moon without warning. Laughed, it was a short, sharp sound. A human ship here? Impossible, your sensors must be broken. The sensors are working correctly, Commander. We have confirmed the signal multiple times. Then your officers are incompetent. Humans do not have the technology to reach our capital undetected. Everyone knows this. And yet the ship is there. Walk to the main screen. The patrol ships were almost at the target location now. Very well. We will destroy it and end this foolishness. Open a channel to the patrol fleet. Channel open, Commander. All ships, this is High Commander. You are approaching an unauthorized vessel. Destroy it immediately. Leave nothing behind. Understood, Commander, came the reply from the patrol fleet leader. On the screen, the 10 warships spread out into attack formation. Their weapons powered up, glowing with deadly energy. They were among the finest ships in the galaxy, each one capable of destroying a small moon. The human ship did not move. It simply sat there waiting. Fire ordered. The patrol ships launched their attack. Energy beams shot through space, bright enough to blind anyone watching. Missiles followed, dozens of them, racing toward the human vessel. The firepower was overwhelming. Nothing could survive such an attack. But something strange happened. The energy beams missed. Not by much, but enough. They passed by the human ship on all sides, hitting nothing but empty space. The missiles also missed, their guidance systems suddenly confused, sending them in wrong directions. What happened? Shouted. How did they miss? Unknown, Commander. The weapons fired correctly. They should have hit. Fire again. The patrol ships fired another wave of attacks, and again everything missed. The human ship remained untouched, unharmed, sitting peacefully near the fourth moon. Watched in silence. His old mind was working, trying to understand what he was seeing. This was not normal. This was not possible. Weapons did not miss. Their targeting systems were perfect, designed by the finest engineers in the Empire. Something was interfering with them, something human. Commander, an officer called out. The human ship is sending a transmission. They want to communicate. His face twisted with anger. Ignore them. Send more ships. I want 50 warships at that location now. Wait, said. Perhaps we should listen to their message first. Listen to humans. They are insects, Admiral. We do not negotiate with insects. These insects just avoided our weapons, Commander. I think we should hear what they have to say. Glared at for a long moment. The two officers had never liked each other. Thought was too old, too careful, too weak. Thought was too young, too proud, too foolish. But in this moment even could see the wisdom in words. Fine, said. Put the transmission on screen. The main screen flickered and a new image appeared. It showed the bridge of the human ship. The design was simple but clean, with many screens and controls arranged in neat patterns. Standing at the center was a human female. She wore a dark uniform with a symbol on the shoulder, a picture of Earth with stars around it. Her black hair was pulled back from her face. Her eyes were calm and steady. Greetings, the human said. My name is Captain of the Earth Defense Ship Resolve. I am here to deliver a message to the Empire. Stepped forward. You are trespassing in Imperial space, human. You will surrender your ship immediately or be destroyed. Your weapons seem to have trouble hitting us, Commander. Perhaps you should try a different approach. Skin flushed dark purple with rage. How dare you speak to me this way? Do you know who I am? Do you know the power of the Empire? I know exactly who you are, Captain replied. I know everything about your empire, your military strength, your defense systems, your patrol routes. I have been studying you for a very long time. Impossible. Human intelligence is not capable of gathering such information. You would be surprised what humans are capable of, Commander, but that is not why I am here. His voice became harder, colder. 50 years ago, your empire took 3,000 human colonists from the New Hope settlement. Men, women, and children. You took them as slaves, as test subjects, as property. We have not forgotten. Felt his heart go cold. He remembered that mission. He had been a young officer then, serving on one of the ships that visited human space. He had watched as the colonists were loaded into cargo containers, crying and begging for mercy. He had done nothing to stop it. Orders were orders. We are here for our people, Captain continued. Return them to us, alive and unharmed, and we will leave peacefully. Refuse, and you will learn the true meaning of human determination. Laughed again, but this time there was less confidence in the sound. One ship. You threaten us with one ship. We have thousands of warships. We have the greatest military force in the galaxy. Yes, said, and yet here I am, sitting near your capital, and you cannot touch me. Think about that, Commander. Think very carefully. The transmission ended. The screen went dark. In the silence that followed, realized something terrible. The humans had changed. They were no longer the weak, primitive species the Empire had dismissed 50 years ago. They had grown. They had learned. They had been preparing for this moment. And the Empire was not ready for what came next. The command center was quiet after Captain's transmission ended. Officers stood frozen at their stations, staring at the dark screen. Nobody spoke. Nobody moved. The words of the human captain hung in the air like smoke from a fire. High Commander was the first to break the silence. This is an insult, he growled. An insult to the entire Empire. That human dares to threaten us, in our own space, near our own capital. She did not just threaten us, Commander, Admiral said quietly. She proved she could reach us. That is far more dangerous than words. She proved nothing. One lucky approach does not make humans a threat. They probably spent years building that ship, all their resources focused on one mission. It changes nothing about the balance of power. It changes everything, replied. If one ship can reach us, others can follow. If they bypassed our defenses once, they can do it again. We need to understand how they did this. Waved his hand dismissively. We need to destroy that ship and send its pieces back to Earth. That is what we need to do. He turned to the communication officer. Send orders to the home fleet. I want 100 warships surrounding that human vessel within the hour. We will crush them with overwhelming force. Commander, with respect, our weapons already failed to hit them. More ships may not solve the problem. Then we will try different weapons. Missiles, energy beams, projectile cannons, nuclear warheads. We will use everything we have until something works. Shook his head slowly. Something about this situation felt very wrong. The human captain had been too calm, too confident. She had shown no fear when facing the patrol fleet. She had shown no worry when speaking to. Either she was crazy or she knew something they did not know. He suspected it was the second option. The next hour was filled with activity. Ships moved through space around the capital, forming a massive ring around the human vessel. 100 warships, the finest in the Imperial fleet, pointed their weapons at a single target. Millions of tons of firepower waited for the order to attack. On the Resolve, Captain watched the enemy fleet gather. Lieutenant Ho stood beside her, monitoring the sensor displays. He was a tall man with a serious face, his eyes constantly moving between screens. 100 ships now, Captain. They are surrounding us completely. As expected, said. The response is always the same. When something confuses them, they throw more force at it. They cannot imagine a different approach. Our shield modifications are holding. Their targeting systems remain confused, but I do not know how long we can maintain this advantage. Long enough, Lieutenant, long enough. On Throne Station, High Commander prepared for the final assault. He stood at the main command console, his hands gripping the edge tightly. His entire career had prepared him for moments like this. Victory was always simple. Identify the enemy, destroy the enemy, claim the glory. Humans were no different from any other species the Empire had crushed over the centuries. All ships report ready, Commander, an officer announced. Good, on my command, fire everything. Every weapon, every missile, every bomb. I want that human ship turned into dust. Understood, Commander. Took a deep breath. This would be the end of the human insult. After today, no one would remember Captain or her foolish threats. They would only remember how the Empire destroyed those who dared to challenge them. Fire commanded. The space around the fourth moon exploded with light. 100 warships launched their attacks simultaneously. Energy beams crossed the darkness like deadly spears. Missiles flew in thick swarms. Nuclear warheads raced toward their target, each one powerful enough to destroy a city. The firepower was beyond anything the Empire had used in decades. Nothing could survive it. Nothing. And yet the human ship remained. Reports shouted, "What happened? Show me the target." The main screen changed, focusing on the location of the Resolve. Through the smoke and debris of the explosions, the human ship was still there, untouched, unharmed, its lights still glowing, its hull still whole. Around it, the missiles and beams had scattered in all directions, hitting nothing but empty space. "This is impossible," whispered. His voice had lost its confidence. How can this be?" Admiral studied the sensor data carefully. "Their ship is doing something to our weapons, some kind of interference field. It confuses our targeting systems, makes them aim at the wrong location. That technology does not exist. No species in the galaxy has such capability. Apparently humans do." Slammed his fist against the console. "Then we will use manual targeting. We will aim with our eyes instead of computers. The weapons will hit if we control them ourselves." "Commander, manual targeting at this distance is extremely difficult. The chances of success are—" "I do not care about chances. I care about results. Send the order." The fleet tried again. This time, officers aimed their weapons manually, using visual displays instead of automated systems. They fired carefully, tracking the human ship with their own eyes. The attacks came closer, but they still missed. The human ship seemed to move at the last moment, just enough to avoid each strike. It was like trying to hit a shadow, a ghost that existed but could not be touched. On the Resolve, Lieutenant Ho smiled slightly. "Their manual targeting is better, but still not enough. Our movement algorithms are adjusting automatically." "Good work on those algorithms, Lieutenant. They are performing perfectly." "Thank you, Captain, but we should send our message again. They need to understand that destruction is not the answer." Nodded, open a channel to Throne Station. The main screen on the command center flickered again. Captain appeared, looking exactly as calm as before. "High Commander," she said, "I see you have been trying to destroy my ship. As you can tell, it is not working. Perhaps now you are ready to discuss my request." His face was dark with anger and something else, fear. "What kind of magic is this? What technology allows you to avoid our weapons?" "It is not magic, Commander. It is science, human science. We may be a young species, but we learn quickly, very quickly. For 50 years we have studied your empire. We have collected your debris, analyzed your technology, and found your weaknesses. This ship represents everything we have learned." "You cannot have learned so much in such a short time. It takes centuries to develop advanced technology." "That is what you believe, but humans are different. When we have a goal, we work without rest. When someone hurts us, we remember forever. 3,000 of our people were stolen from their homes. We have not slept well since that day. Stepped forward, appearing on the screen beside. Captain, I must ask you something. How did you get this close without being detected? Our sensors cover every approach to the capital. They should have seen you coming from hundreds of light years away. His expression softened slightly. Ah, Admiral, I know your name. You were there, weren't you, when the colonists were taken? You were a young officer on the fleet that visited our space. Felt a chill run through his body. Yes, I was there. Do you remember a woman named Bin? She was 23 years old. She begged your captain for mercy. She had a child in her arms, a baby girl only 6 months old. Do you remember what happened to her? Remembered. He had tried to forget for 50 years, but he remembered. The woman crying, the baby screaming, the soldiers pulling them apart. The mother thrown into one container, the child into another, separated forever. He had watched it happen and done nothing. I remember, he said, his voice barely a whisper. Bin was my grandmother, Admiral. That baby was my mother. They found each other again, eventually, on a work planet. They survived 20 years of slavery before they escaped. My mother was 40 years old before she saw Earth for the first time. She died last year, still carrying the scars of what your empire did to her. The command center was completely silent. Every officer listened to the human captain's words. So when you ask how we got this close, continued, the answer is simple. We had motivation, we had purpose, we had rage. Those 3 things can achieve what technology alone cannot. Tried to regain control of the conversation. Your sad story changes nothing, human. You are still just one ship. You cannot fight our entire empire. You will be destroyed eventually, no matter how clever your technology. Perhaps, but consider this, Commander. If I can reach your capital with one ship, how many other ships do you think are waiting? How many human vessels are hidden in your space right now, watching your movements, studying your defenses? Are you prepared to find out? You are bluffing. Humans do not have the resources for a large fleet. Are you certain? Are you willing to bet your empire on that certainty? Hesitated. For the first time in his career, he did not know what to do. The human was right. He could not be certain. If there were more ships, hidden and waiting, the empire could be facing a threat unlike anything in its history. Spoke again. Captain, what exactly do you want? You mentioned the colonists. Are they still alive? Some of them. Our intelligence says about 800 survivors remain on the work planet called. They have been used as laborers for 5 decades. Many have died. Many have suffered. But 800 still live, and we want them back. 800 survivors, scoffed. You are threatening our entire empire for 800 people. That is ridiculous. To you, perhaps. To us, every human life matters. Every single one. That is the difference between our species, Commander. You see people as numbers, as resources, as property. We see them as family. And if we refuse your demand? His eyes grew cold. Then you will see what human determination truly looks like. This ship is just the beginning. We did not spend 50 years preparing for failure. Give us time to consider your request, said quickly before could respond. The decision must be made by the Emperor himself. We cannot answer immediately. You have 24 hours, Admiral. Use them wisely. The transmission ended. In the silence that followed, turned to with fury in his eyes. You showed weakness in front of the enemy. You practically agreed to their demands. I bought us time, replied. Time to think, to plan, to understand what we are dealing with. That is not weakness. That is wisdom. Wisdom? Laughed bitterly. You are afraid of one human ship. You, a admiral, trembling before a young species that still remembers how to crawl. I am not afraid of the ship, Commander. I am afraid of what it represents. If humans can do this, what else can they do? What else have they been hiding? We need answers before we act. stared at him for a long moment. Then he turned away. "I will speak to the Emperor myself. He will authorize full military action. Within 24 hours, that human ship will be nothing but scattered atoms." But as walked out of the command center, remained at the screen, watching the small dot that represented the resolve. A single ship, motionless in space, defying the might of the Empire. He thought about Ben. He thought about the baby. He thought about all the crimes the Empire had committed over the centuries, all the species they had conquered and enslaved, all the suffering they had caused. Perhaps thought this was judgment coming at last. Perhaps it was exactly what they deserved. Emperor sat on his throne, a massive chair carved from the black stone of the ancient mountains. The throne room was enormous, with walls that reached up toward darkness and floors polished to mirror brightness. Hundreds of advisors, generals, and nobles stood in neat rows, all waiting for their ruler to speak. But did not speak. He simply stared at the report in his hands, reading the same words again and again. A human warship near the capital, weapons unable to hit it, a demand for the return of stolen colonists, 24 hours to respond. He had ruled the empire for 40 years. He had conquered planets, destroyed enemies, and built the greatest military force in the galaxy. Nothing had ever frightened him. Nothing had ever made him doubt his power. Until now. How did this happen? His voice was low, but everyone in the room heard it clearly. How did a human ship reach our capital without being detected? High Commander stepped forward and bowed deeply. "Your Majesty, we believe it is an isolated incident. The humans must have spent enormous resources building a single special ship. It cannot represent a larger threat." Cannot or does not, looked at with cold eyes. "Those are very different things, Commander." "Your Majesty, humans are a minor species. They have only been traveling through space for 2 centuries. Their technology is primitive compared to ours. This ship is an exception, not the rule. An exception that defeated our weapons, an exception that sits near my throne world, untouchable." Set the report down slowly. "That does not sound like a minor species to me." Admiral stepped forward next. He was the oldest officer in the room, and the only one who had personally witnessed the original incident with the human colonists. "Your Majesty, if I may speak." "Go ahead, Admiral." "I believe we have made a serious mistake in our understanding of humans. We dismissed them 50 years ago because their technology was simple. But we forgot something important. Technology can be learned, can be improved, can be stolen. Intelligence and determination cannot be so easily measured." "What are you suggesting, Admiral?" "I am suggesting that humans have been watching us, Your Majesty, learning from us, preparing for this moment. The ship near our capital is not a desperate gamble. It is a calculated move by an enemy who has been planning for decades." Interrupted angrily. "That is speculation without evidence. We have no proof that humans have been spying on us." "Actually," said a new voice, "we do have proof." Everyone turned to look at the speaker. He was Lord, head of Imperial Intelligence, the secret organization that watched everything in the Empire. He was a thin with pale skin and quiet eyes, the kind of person who was easy to forget and dangerous to ignore. "Explain yourself, Lord," commanded. Walked forward holding a data tablet. 3 years ago, we detected unusual signals near our military stations. We thought they were natural phenomena, random energy patterns from distant stars. We were wrong. Those signals were human spy probes sending information back to Earth." "Why were we not informed of this?" demanded. "Because we did not understand what they were until recently. The probes were designed to look exactly like natural space objects. Asteroids, comets, debris. They drifted through our space, completely invisible to our sensors. We only discovered the truth when one of them malfunctioned and revealed its artificial nature." His grip tightened on his throne. "How many probes are there?" "We do not know, Your Majesty. We have found 7 so far, but there could be hundreds, perhaps thousands. They have been collecting data on our military movements, our defense systems, our communication codes, everything. The throne room filled with worried murmurs. Nobles whispered to each other. Generals looked at their feet. The impossible had happened. Humans had been spying on the greatest empire in the galaxy, and no one had noticed. There is more, continued. We have evidence that human agents have visited our planets personally, not in ships but aboard our own trading vessels, disguised as members of other species. Humans cannot disguise themselves, as argued. We have 4 eyes and gray skin. Humans have 2 eyes and different colors. They did not disguise themselves as, they disguised themselves as other species, the species that trade with us regularly. Humans modified their appearance using advanced biological techniques. They walked among us, learned our language, studied our culture, and we never suspected. Emperor stood up from his throne. The room went completely silent. You are telling me that humans have been infiltrating our empire for years, that they know our secrets, our weaknesses, our plans, and nobody in my government discovered this until now. Yes, Your Majesty, I apologize for our failure. Apologies do not protect the empire, Lord. Results do. Walked down the steps from his throne, his long robes dragging across the floor. Show me everything you know about human activities in our space. Activated his tablet, and a holographic display appeared in the center of the room. It showed a map of territory, with hundreds of small red dots scattered across it. Each red dot represents a location where we now suspect human intelligence activity. As you can see, they cover our entire empire. Military stations, trading posts, communication relays, even some of our minor colony worlds. They have been everywhere. How is this possible? A noble asked. Humans are supposed to be weak, primitive, ignorant. They were weak, said quietly. 50 years ago when we took their colonists, they could not stop us, but they remembered, they watched, they learned, and they never forgave. Studied the map carefully. The red dots formed a pattern around the most important areas of his empire. The humans had not been wandering randomly. They had been targeting specific locations, gathering specific information. It was the work of a patient, intelligent enemy. What do they want? Asked. Besides the colonists they mentioned. We believe the colonists are truly their only demand, replied. Human culture places extreme value on individual lives, especially those of their own species. The taking of those colonists 50 years ago was viewed as an act of war by their people. They have been preparing for revenge ever since. Revenge. They spent 50 years preparing for revenge over 3,000 slaves. To humans, they were not slaves, Your Majesty. They were family. Humans have a concept they call leaving no one behind. They will sacrifice enormous resources to recover their own people, even when logic suggests it is not worth the cost. Laughed nervously. Then they are fools. The colonists are old now, their children grown, their lives mostly finished. Why would anyone spend so much effort for such little gain? Because that is what makes humans dangerous, said. They do not think like us. They do not calculate value the same way. To those colonists are worthless property. To a human, they are sacred. And humans will burn worlds to protect what is sacred to them. The room fell silent again. Everyone was thinking the same thing. What would humans do if the Empire refused their demand? Your Majesty, said carefully, there is one more piece of information you should know. Our analysts have examined the human ship near the capital. They have identified something unusual about its construction. What have they found? The ship appears to be made partly from technology. The hull material, the engine design, some of the weapons, they match our own systems, but they have been modified, improved in ways we do not understand. They stole our technology. Not exactly, Your Majesty. They collected it. Remember, we have fought battles across the galaxy for centuries. Wreckage from our ships floats in space everywhere. Humans have been gathering that wreckage, studying it, learning from it. They took our own creations and made them better. His face grew dark with anger. They turned our weapons against us. In a sense, yes. The human ship uses our technology as a foundation, but their modifications make it superior to anything we currently have. Our weapons cannot hit it because they have found a way to confuse our targeting systems, using knowledge of how those systems work. Can we develop countermeasures? In time, perhaps, but not within 24 hours. Returned to his throne and sat down heavily. His mind was racing through possibilities, searching for a solution. The human ship was a problem, but the larger threat was clear now. Humans had proven they could reach the heart of the Empire. Even if this one ship was destroyed, others would come. The war that nobody had expected was about to begin. What are the consequences if we give them what they want? Asked. If we return the colonists? The immediate threat would end, replied. The human ship would leave, but the Empire's reputation would suffer. Other species would see that we can be forced to submit to demands. It could encourage rebellion in our conquered territories. And if we refuse? Then we face war with a species that has been studying us for 50 years. A species that knows our secrets, our weaknesses, our patterns. A species that has already proven it can defeat our weapons. We have thousands of ships, argued. They cannot have more than a few hundred at most. We would win any war through sheer numbers. Would we? Asked. How many of our ships would we lose? How many worlds would burn? Even if we won eventually, the cost might destroy us. The debate continued for hours. Generals argued about military strategy. Nobles worried about their territories. Advisors calculated costs and risks. Through it all, Emperor sat silently on his throne, thinking about the choice before him. Return the colonists and appear weak, or keep them and face a war that might destroy everything his ancestors had built. Finally, as the night grew late, a message arrived from the human ship. Captain had sent a new transmission, requesting to speak directly with the Emperor. Put her on screen, ordered. The holographic display changed, showing the human captain standing on her bridge. She looked tired but determined, her eyes fixed on the ruler. Emperor said, I thank you for speaking with me directly. Captain, you have caused quite a disturbance in my empire. That was my intention, Your Majesty. Sometimes disturbance is necessary to get attention. You have my attention, speak your piece. Took a deep breath. I know you are considering your options. I know your advisors are telling you that returning the colonists will make you look weak, while fighting will prove your strength. I am asking you to consider a third option. What option is that? Peace. True peace between humans, and not the peace of fear but the peace of respect. Return our people and we will share the technology we have developed. The stealth systems, the adaptive shields, everything. We will trade with your empire as equals, not as conquered servants. You would give us your technology. In exchange for our people, yes. Humans do not want war, Your Majesty. We want our family back. We spent 50 years preparing for conflict because we had no other choice. But if you give us another choice, we will take it gladly. Leaned back in his throne, surprised by the offer. Why should I trust you? You came here with threats and demands. Because threats were the only language your empire has ever understood. We tried diplomacy 50 years ago. We begged for our colonists. You laughed at us. So we learned to speak in a different way. His voice softened slightly. But I would rather build than destroy, Your Majesty. Give me a reason to build. The Emperor looked at the human captain for a long moment. Behind her calm face, he saw something unexpected, not hatred, not rage, but hope. Hope that this confrontation could end without fire and death. I will give you my answer within your deadline, said finally. Until then, hold your position. Do not make any aggressive moves. Understood, Your Majesty. We will wait. The transmission ended. In the silence that followed, Emperor made his decision. He just was not sure yet what that decision would be. On the bridge of the Resolve, Captain sat alone in the dim light. The ship was quiet now, most of the crew resting before the deadline arrived. Outside the windows, the stars sparkled like diamonds scattered across black silk. Somewhere among those stars, the fleet waited, watching, planning. "You should sleep, Captain." Turned to see Lieutenant Ho approaching with 2 cups of tea. He handed one to her and sat down in the chair beside the captain's station. "Sleep can wait," replied, accepting the cup. "Tomorrow decides everything. Either we go home as heroes or we die as martyrs." That is a grim way of looking at it. It is the truth. I learned long ago that pretending things are better than they are helps no one. Ho nodded slowly. He had served under Captain for 5 years, ever since the Resolve had been completed. He knew her moods, her fears, her hopes. He knew that behind her calm exterior was a woman carrying the weight of her entire species on her shoulders. "Can I ask you something, Captain?" "Of course." "Do you really believe the Emperor will agree to our terms? He does not seem like the type to surrender." Sipped her tea thoughtfully. "I do not know if he will agree, but I know he will consider it. That is more than I expected when we started this mission." "And if he refuses?" "Then we use Plan B." Ho's eyes widened slightly. Plan B was something only senior officers knew about, a secret kept from most of the crew. "Are you sure that is wise? Plan B could change everything. There would be no going back." "That is precisely why I hope we do not need to use it." Set down her cup and looked at her lieutenant with serious eyes. "Tell me, Ho, do you believe we did the right thing coming here?" "I believe we did what was necessary. The colonists have suffered for 50 years. Someone had to fight for them. And the cost? If we fail, Earth will be at war with the most powerful empire in the galaxy. Millions could die." "Millions were going to die anyway, Captain. The do not respect weakness. If we had done nothing, they would have come for more of us eventually. At least now they know we can fight back." Nodded slowly. Ho was right. The mission to space was not just about rescuing colonists. It was about sending a message. Humans would not be easy prey. They would not submit quietly. They would struggle and scratch and bite until the very end. "Tell me about your grandmother, Lieutenant, the one who worked on the adaptive shield technology." Ho smiled slightly. "Her name was Mira. She was one of the first engineers assigned to the recovery project after the colonists were taken. She spent 40 years studying wreckage, learning their systems, finding their weaknesses. She died 3 years before the Resolve was completed. Sometimes I wish she could see what her work accomplished. She would be proud." "I hope so. She used to say that revenge was for fools, but justice was for the wise. She wanted our people back, but more than that, she wanted the Empire to understand what they had done wrong, to learn that other species deserve respect." "Your grandmother sounds like a wise woman." "She was. She taught me that strength means nothing without purpose. They have strength, but they use it to hurt others. Humans have strength now too, but we use it to protect our own. That is the difference." The conversation was interrupted by a signal from the communication station. "Officer," a young woman with quick eyes and steady hands, appeared on the internal screen. "Captain, we are receiving a transmission from the command station. Not the Emperor's channel, a different one. It appears to be from Admiral." And Ho exchanged glances. A private message from the old Admiral was unexpected. "Put it through." The screen changed to show Admiral's face. He looked older than he had during the earlier transmissions, his gray skin lined with worry. He was clearly in a private room, away from the command center. "Captain, I am contacting you secretly. No one else knows about this communication." "That is a dangerous thing to do, Admiral. Why take such a risk?" "Because I need you to understand something about our Emperor, something that might affect your strategy." leaned forward with interest. "I am listening." "Emperor is afraid, more afraid than I have ever seen him. Your ship has shaken his confidence in ways that decades of war never did. He is used to fighting enemies he can see, enemies he can destroy with overwhelming force. You represent something different, an enemy he cannot touch, cannot understand, cannot predict." "Fear can make people dangerous, Admiral. It might make him more likely to attack. Or it might make him more likely to negotiate. Is not a fool, Captain. He knows the Empire cannot afford a long war with an unknown enemy. He knows that destroying your ship solves nothing if more ships follow. He needs a way to end this crisis without losing face." "What are you suggesting?" "I am suggesting that you give him a path to surrender that looks like victory. If you can frame the return of the colonists as an act of imperial mercy rather than submission to demands, might accept. His pride is the obstacle. Find a way around it." Considered the old admiral's words. "You care about ending this peacefully, do you not? Why, you are an officer. You should want to defeat us." Was silent for a moment. When he spoke again, his voice was heavy with old guilt. "I was there, Captain. 50 years ago when your grandmother and mother were taken. I watched it happen. I did nothing to stop it. For 50 years that memory has haunted me. If I can do something now to make amends, I will." "Making amends does not erase what happened." "No, it does not. But it might prevent similar suffering in the future. I have served the Empire my whole life. I have followed orders, won battles, earned medals. But the older I get, the more I wonder if any of it was worth the cost. How many innocent lives were destroyed so that our empire could grow? How much pain did we cause to species who only wanted to live in peace?" These are dangerous thoughts for an admiral. They are, but they are also true thoughts. I am tired of pretending otherwise. Paused, then continued. "Captain, there is something else you should know. Lord, our intelligence chief, is pushing for a surprise attack on Earth. He believes that if we destroy your home planet, the human threat will end forever." His blood ran cold. Can he convince the Emperor to do this? Possibly, is persuasive and is scared. If believes there is no peaceful solution, he might authorize the attack. Ho stepped closer to the screen. "Admiral, if the Empire attacks Earth, we will reveal Plan B that will change everything for your species." Looked at the young lieutenant with curiosity. "Plan B? What is Plan B?" Held up her hand, stopping Ho from saying more. "Admiral, I appreciate the warning. Is there anything else you can tell us about the Emperor's mindset?" "Only that you have less time than you think. The 24-hour deadline is official, but is pushing for immediate action. You might have only a few more hours before a decision is made." "Thank you, Admiral. Your help will not be forgotten." "I do not want gratitude, Captain. I want justice. For your grandmother, your mother, and all the others who suffered. Whatever happens next, remember that not all are your enemies." The transmission ended. Stood up from her chair and walked to the main window. The capital world hung in the distance, a massive sphere of cities and industry. Millions of beings lived there, going about their daily lives, unaware that their future was being decided by a handful of people on a small ship. "Captain," Ho said quietly, "should we prepare Plan B?" "Not yet, but soon. If is right and they are planning to attack Earth, we will have no choice. The crew should know. They deserve to understand what might happen." Nodded. "Assemble everyone in the main hall. It is time for the truth." An hour later, the entire crew of the Resolve, 87 humans from different nations and backgrounds, gathered in the ship's central meeting space. They stood in silent rows, looking at their captain with a mixture of hope and worry. Stood before them, her back straight, her voice clear. "You all know why we are here. We came to rescue our people from captivity. We came to show the galaxy that humans cannot be ignored. We have accomplished both of those goals, but now we face a new challenge." She paused, looking at the faces of her crew. young and old, men and women, engineers and soldiers. They had all volunteered for this mission, knowing it might be their last. They are afraid of us. That fear might drive them to negotiate, or it might drive them to attack. Our intelligence suggests they are considering a strike on Earth itself. If that happens, we must respond in a way that protects our home and our people. How, Captain? Someone asked. One ship cannot stop an invasion fleet. No, but one ship can do something else. Something that will change the balance of power in this galaxy forever. Looked at Ho, who stepped forward and activated a holographic display. An image appeared in the air, a map of space, but with new markers added. Hundreds of small dots scattered across the empire, each one blinking with a gentle light. For the past 30 years, Ho explained, humans have been placing devices throughout territory. Not spy probes, something different. We call them seeds. Each seed is a small transmitter connected to a larger network. Together, they form a communication system that can broadcast to every corner of the empire simultaneously. What kind of broadcast? An officer asked. Any kind we want. Information about war crimes, evidence of atrocities against conquered species, details about corruption in the imperial government. We have collected decades of damaging material. If we activate the network, every being in the empire will learn the truth about their rulers. The crew murmured in surprise. This was beyond anything they had imagined. They control their population through propaganda, continued. They tell their people that the empire brings peace and prosperity to the galaxy. They hide the suffering, the slavery, the destruction. If we reveal the truth, their citizens will demand change. Their conquered subjects will rebel. The empire will face chaos from within. That is Plan B, Ho said. We call it the awakening. It will not destroy the empire, but it will transform it. Nothing will be the same afterward. Looked at her crew with serious eyes. I want you to understand, this is not a weapon I use lightly. The awakening will cause upheaval across hundreds of worlds. Innocent people will suffer in the confusion. But if the empire attacks Earth, we will have no choice. We must protect our home, whatever the cost. The crew was silent, processing the enormity of what they had heard. Finally, a young engineer named Sung spoke up. Captain, I have family on Earth. My parents, my sister, her children. If this is what it takes to protect them, I support it completely. Whatever happens, I am with you. One by one, the other crew members voiced their agreement. They had come here prepared to die for their people. Now they were prepared to reshape the galaxy if necessary. Felt a surge of pride and gratitude. These were her people, brave, loyal, determined. Whatever came next, they would face it together. Return to your stations, she commanded. Stay alert. The next few hours will decide everything. As the crew dispersed, Ho remained beside his captain. Do you think it will come to that, the awakening? Looked out at the stars, where the fleet waited like hungry predators. I hope not, Lieutenant. I truly hope not. But if they force our hand, we will show them what humans can do when we have nothing left to lose. The waiting continued. Somewhere on the capital, an emperor was making a choice that would change history. And on a small ship near the fourth moon, 87 humans prepared for whatever future was about to arrive. The dawn came slowly on the capital world. Light spread across the massive cities, waking millions of beings who had no idea how close their empire had come to chaos. In the imperial palace, Emperor stood alone in his private chamber, looking out at the world he had ruled for 40 years. He had not slept. The entire night had been spent in meetings, arguments, and difficult decisions. Lord had pushed hard for an immediate attack on Earth, painting pictures of human fleets appearing across space, of cities burning, of the empire crumbling. High Commander had agreed, demanding military action to restore imperial honor. Only Admiral had counseled patience, suggesting that negotiation might be wiser than war. In the end, had sent them all away. Some choices were too important to be made by committee. Some choices belonged to the ruler alone. Now, as the morning light touched his face, the Emperor knew what he had to do. "Connect me to the human ship," he ordered. Captain appeared on his screen within minutes. She looked as tired as he felt, dark circles under her eyes and tension in her shoulders, but her voice remained calm and strong. "Emperor, I hope you have good news for me." "I have news, Captain. Whether it is good depends on your perspective." Paused, gathering his thoughts. "I have decided to return your colonists." His expression did not change, but her eyes flickered with something. Relief, perhaps, or hope. "That is good news indeed, Your Majesty." "There are conditions. First, this must be presented to my people as an act of imperial mercy, not surrender to human demands. You will accept this publicly." "Acceptable." "Second, you will share the technology you mentioned, the stealth systems, the adaptive shields, all of it." "Also acceptable, once our people are safely aboard our ship." "Third, you will leave space immediately after the transfer and not return without proper diplomatic arrangements." "Agreed." "Fourth, and most importantly," leaned forward, his eyes hard, "you will give me your word that humans have no further aggressive intentions toward the Empire. This matter ends here. No revenge, no continued hostility, no future attacks." Was silent for a moment. When she spoke, her voice carried the weight of her entire species. "I cannot speak for all humans, Your Majesty. I can only speak for myself and my government. We came here for our people, not for war. Return them safely, and we will honor peace between our species. But I must be honest with you, trust takes time to build. What your empire did 50 years ago will not be forgotten easily." "I understand, but forgetting is not the same as forgiving. Can humans forgive?" "Some can, some cannot. We are not a single mind, Your Majesty. We are billions of individuals, each with their own feelings, their own memories, their own pain." Paused. "What I can promise is this: we will try. If your empire treats us with respect, we will respond in kind. If you do not attack us, we will not attack you. That is the foundation of peace." Nodded slowly. It was not a perfect answer, but it was an honest one. He respected honesty. "Very well, Captain. I will arrange the transfer of your colonists. They are on a planet called, about 3 days' travel from here at standard speed. I will send a transport ship to bring them to your location." "That is acceptable. We will wait." "One more thing." His voice softened slightly. "The woman you mentioned, Bin, your grandmother, is she still alive?" Shook her head. "She died many years ago, so did my mother. They never saw Earth again." "I am sorry for what was done to them, for what was done to all your people." The words hung in the air. An emperor apologizing to a human captain for crimes committed half a century ago. It was a small thing, perhaps, but it was also something that had never happened before in history. "Thank you, Your Majesty," replied quietly. "That means more than you know." The transmission ended. 3 days later, a transport ship arrived at the fourth moon carrying 812 human survivors. They came out slowly, blinking in the lights of the Resolve's docking bay, their faces showing the marks of 50 years of labor and suffering. Old men and women who had been young when they were taken. Middle-aged adults who had been born in captivity, knowing no other life. Children who had never seen the sky of their ancestors' world. Captain stood at the entrance of the bay, watching them arrive. Beside her, Lieutenant Ho had tears in his eyes. Many of the crew were crying openly. One old woman approached the captain with slow, careful steps. Her hair was completely white, her skin wrinkled and spotted, but her eyes were clear and bright. "Are you the one who came for us?" the woman asked. "Yes, grandmother, my name is. I am the captain of this ship." The old woman smiled, her lips trembling. "That was my daughter's name. She died last year, but before she went, she told me to keep hopping. She said humans never stop fighting for their own." "She was right, grandmother. We never stopped. We just needed time." The old woman reached out and touched his face with gentle fingers. "Thank you, child. Thank you for remembering us." The processing of the survivors took several hours. Medical teams examined each person, treating illnesses and injuries that had been ignored for decades. Counselors spoke with those who were confused or afraid, helping them understand that they were finally free. Food and clean clothes were provided to everyone. When the last survivor was aboard and settled, Captain returned to the bridge. The fleet still surrounded the Resolve, hundreds of ships watching their every move. But the atmosphere had changed. The weapons were no longer powered up. The targeting systems were silent. A careful, uncertain peace had replaced the threat of war. Said, "Open a channel to all frequencies. I want this message heard across the system." "Channel open, Captain." Stood straight, facing the main screen. "This is Captain of the Earth Defense Ship Resolve. Our mission is complete. The citizens of Earth who were taken from their homes 50 years ago have been returned to us. I thank Emperor for his wisdom in choosing peace over war." She paused, knowing that millions of beings across the system were listening. "But I want to be clear about something. Humans did not come here as beggars, asking for mercy. We came as equals, demanding justice. The fact that we could reach your capital undetected proves that we have the capability to threaten this empire. We chose not to use that capability for destruction. We chose to use it for rescue. Remember this moment, citizens of. Remember that a species you dismissed as primitive traveled across the galaxy and sat at your doorstep, untouchable. Remember that we could have brought war, but we brought words instead. This is what humans are, strong enough to fight, but wise enough to seek peace. The next time you encounter a human ship, do not think of us as weak. Do not think of us as prey. Think of us as neighbors who deserve respect. Treat us fairly, and we will be your friends. Treat us poorly, and we will be the worst enemies you have ever known. To the survivors we have rescued today, welcome home. Your suffering has not been forgotten. Your strength has inspired an entire species. You will see Earth again, I promise you. And when you do, you will find a world that has been waiting for you, hopping for you, fighting for you. This is Captain, signing off. May the stars guide us all to better days. The transmission ended. On worlds across the Empire, billions of beings processed what they had heard. On Throne Station, Emperor watched the human ship begin to move away from the fourth moon. On other ships throughout the galaxy, captains and crews wondered what this moment meant for the future. Admiral stood alone in his quarters, feeling a weight lift from his shoulders. For the first time in 50 years, he felt something like hope. The Resolve accelerated smoothly, leaving space behind. The crew celebrated quietly, holding reunions with the survivors, sharing stories, crying tears of joy. The mission had succeeded beyond anyone's expectations. They had proven that humans could stand against any empire. They had rescued their lost brothers and sisters. They had changed the galaxy. On the bridge, Lieutenant Ho approached Captain. "We did it, Captain. We actually did it." "Yes, Lieutenant, we did." "What happens now, when we return to Earth?" Looked out at the stars rushing past the windows. "Now the real work begins. We have shown the galaxy that humans are powerful. We must also show them that we are wise. Building peace will be harder than threatening war." "Do you think we can do it? Build real peace with the—" "I do not know, but I know we have to try. My grandmother spent her life hopping for this moment. My mother died dreaming of freedom. I will not waste their sacrifice by seeking only revenge. We must be better than that." In the medical bay, the survivors were slowly adapting to their new reality. Some cried endlessly, overwhelmed by emotions they had suppressed for decades. Others sat in silence, unable to believe that their nightmare was finally over. The medical staff moved among them with gentle hands and kind words, offering comfort without judgment. One old man, a survivor named Jin who had been only 20 when he was taken, sat by a window watching the stars. A young crew member sat beside him. It is beautiful, is it not? Jin said. I forgot how beautiful space could be. We only saw the inside of work facilities and sleeping quarters. No windows, no stars, no sky. You will see the sky of Earth soon, the crew member replied. Blue sky, white clouds, green forests, it will all be waiting for you. I wonder if I will remember it. I was so young when they took us. The memories feel like dreams now, distant, faded, uncertain. It does not matter if you remember. Earth will welcome you anyway. That is what home means. It welcomes you back, no matter how long you have been away. Jin smiled, wrinkles deepening around his eyes. You young people speak so beautifully. In my day, we were more practical, more focused on survival. But I like your way better. It gives me hope. Hours later, the Resolve reached the edge of space. Captain gave the order to activate the jump drive, and the ship prepared to travel the vast distance back to human territory. Before the jump began, a final message arrived from space. It was from Admiral, sent through a private channel. Captain, I wanted to thank you one last time. What happened today gives me faith that change is possible, for humans, for everyone. I do not know if I will live to see the full results of this moment, but I am glad to have witnessed its beginning. Travel safely, and if our species meet again in the future, I hope it will be as friends. Read the message and smiled slightly. Enemies could become friends. Wounds could heal. The galaxy was vast and full of possibilities. Activate jump drive, she commanded. The stars stretched into lines of light. The Resolve leaped forward, carrying 800 survivors, 87 crew members, and the hope of an entire species toward home. Behind them, the Empire continued as it always had, powerful, proud, afraid. But something had changed. A crack had appeared in their certainty. A seed of doubt had been planted. In time, that seed would grow. And somewhere in the darkness of space, other human ships watched and waited, ready to answer any call, prepared to defend their people wherever they might be. Humanity had arrived on the galactic stage. Nothing would ever be the same again.